Hey there everyone, it's Alex here from VG247.com and I'm back with more Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I've finished the game now. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company were kind enough to send us an early copy, and so I wanted to do you some quick review impressions of the final game. There's a full review, written review on VG247.com, so I recommend you check that out. But I just wanted to do a quick video, and it is going to have to be quick because until the game comes out on Friday, I'm not actually allowed to show you much video footage. So, what is there to say? Well, in some ways, Pokemon Sword and Shield is the most ambitious Pokemon title they've ever made. And in other ways, it's a huge step back. It's a really strange game. It's sort of a half and half Jekyll and Hyde of a game. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, right? Everybody knows about the National Dex thing, and if you don't, you can Google it, but the long story short is, there aren't all the Pokemon in the game. There's only a certain amount of Pokemon in this game. You haven't got all 900 or however many there are. That isn't a big deal in my opinion. It disappoints some people, but I understand why they might do it. But the argument is that they've done that to improve other aspects of the game, and I just don't really think they have. So let's take battles for instance. This is still a game where battles take place on a discrete separate screen after a transition, which is fine. But sometimes those battle scenes take place in like really nice dioramas that represent the areas you're in, so you can see the rolling hills and the charming British-inspired architecture. And it really takes advantage of the fact that this is their first HD game. But the flip side is that a lot of battles take place in like a nightmare void. It just sort of looks like blue, it doesn't, or green, or the colour depends on what the dominant colour of the area you're in is. It just doesn't look like anything. Gyms is a great example where gym leaders are the coolest they've ever been. They take place in stadiums, and in the Galar region where this game takes place, the Pokemon League is sort of a sports thing, so you have people screaming from the stands and chanting, and you can hear their chanting along with the music, singing along with the music, and the trainers animate in a cool way, and it just looks good. There's cool camera angles and stuff like that. But on the way to the gym leader, all the battles just again take place in this void as you battle the other characters in the gym, and it's just like, what? It's so weird. Same for cutscenes. Some of them look really good and they're really well directed and have great animation and all that sort of stuff. And some of them look almost unfinished. That's represented in things like the fact that there's no touchscreen functionality at all. Like the interface looks, when you're playing in handheld, like you should be able to use the touchscreen, but you can't at all. Or, you know, sort of how the fast travel mechanic, which replaces Fly, is called Flying Taxi, and it has an in-lore universe of why it works, but there's no animation to back that up. It's just sort of fades to black, fades back in, and that was something that previous Pokemon games actually had. It's strange, and it just leaves me wondering if the development team just ran out of time, if they had plans for all this stuff to be better and just hit a brick wall. In fact, it brings to mind Final Fantasy XIII and that entire era of Japanese RPGs early on in the PS3, where developers really struggled with HD development and creating the assets for these huge games, and the games really suffered as a result. And yet, despite this is still one of the most lovely, charming Pokemon games ever made. I really love the Galar region. It's up there as one of my all-time favourite Pokemon settings, and I don't think it's just because I'm British. I think it's because the high-definition presentation allows for a level of detail that really allows this world to draw you in and charm you. And I do think some of the changes they've made are really smart too. You know, the structure of gyms, the way they lean into the UK being quite a sports-driven country, really, really cool. The wild area, which is an open world area that sort of sits in the middle of the map and winds around some of the cities. So you've still got the routes connecting towns and stuff, which is more traditional Pokemon, but you've got this wide open area where it's not like bespoke to the period you're at in the game. So even though you get put in there very early on when you might have level 7, 8 Pokemon, there are level 50 Pokemon sort of lurking around that you want to avoid and all that sort of stuff. And the wild area just gives you some agency, gives you some openness. I wish it was a little bit more open, but it's a good step in the right direction, and it's a really, really smart idea. I like the character designs and the characters themselves. I like the new Pokemon that they've added. I like the new regional forms. There's still that sort of childlike joy around the Pokemon series is still completely present in this game. It's just this weird thing of the game doesn't feel like it justifies all the things that have been cut out, because the quality is just all over the place. Like I say, it feels unfinished, where some of it feels really polished and some of it feels just totally off base, like they just ran out of time and had to rush something out. If I'm honest, it feels like this is going to be a pretty brutal release for the Pokemon Company and Nintendo. It feels like fans are going to really take them to task for it. But I want to know, I don't think it's an inherently bad game. I think there's a lot to love. And the main thing I want to point out is, despite being really frustrated with it several times throughout my time playing it, I never wanted to put it down. I never wanted to stop playing. And I think that speaks volumes about what the game is, what the game is like. But this problem is, they still promised this experience that would satisfy the hardcore, that it'd be more in-depth after Let's Go, and somehow this feels like a less polished game than Let's Go, and has still made lots and lots of cuts. And this is the paradox. Pokemon Sword and Shield is all too often disappointing, and in some places, like I said, it feels unfinished, but it also gives you that nice warm fuzzy feeling that you want from this series. But yeah, I still never thought about putting it down. So I recommend it almost for the gala setting and the new Pokemon alone, but it's a long list of caveats, so understand what you're going in for, and you might want to wait for a sale or see if there is a third improved definitive release on the way. If you want to know more about the game, don't forget to hit up VG247.com. We've got a full written review, which is far more detailed than this because I didn't have the 6-minute time limit, and we've got plenty more content to come. Once the game actually is out, we can talk about everything in far more detail, and we will do that. But that's it for now. So don't forget to give us a like, give us a subscribe if you like this stuff, and we'll see you next time. See ya.